Hey everyone. So today I want to focus on really building balance, posture, and strength from within. Too often I see too many yoga students get so focused on getting to the final expression of the pose, and they risk the health of their joints. I see a lot of spinal compressions and a lot of back bends that shouldn't be back bending. It's all about that fine balance, right? Really honoring our body is key with everything that we do. And it's all about retaining not only your joints, your own body parts, rather than resorting to having replacements or joint replacements, but also staying functional enough so that as you get older, that you retain not only the mobility, but the strength and the stability, and most importantly, retain your posture in a way that serves you. So let's sort of go ahead and talk about the things that we never talk about. It's the places in between the postures, the sticky places where we tend to sink down and get into the final posture as opposed to like really feeling the shakiness and then the strength and then building the stability enough to where you can responsibly own it in your body and create this muscle memory so it retains that stability for you, okay? With that being said, let's just take a deep breath in, up, and exhale. And I always want you to shoot your spine up and exhale. And inhale up and exhale. And place your hands on your hips. Take the right foot back and let's just shift our hip to the right and then to the left. Just kind of feeling a little bit of the psoas muscles, the quadratus lumborum muscles, the side muscles kind of loosen up and then come back. And then the same thing, place the left foot back. Oftentimes I see a lot of malalignment going on in your pelvis, in our pelvis. I, for one, have issues with my left foot. We have these basic postural habits that we like to kind of stick with, especially those of us who are women and who have babies, right? So raise your arms up, interlace your hands, pull the palm side up toward the ceiling, and really bend over to the right side. Inhale up, and exhale, bend over to the left, and back up, and right, and back, and left. Good. Place your hands on your hips, come high up on your toes, and slowly lower those heels down. And again, up, nice and slow, heel toe together. Lock out the inner thighs and really lock out your core and go down as slow as possible. So imagine like a string pulling you up toward the ceiling and exhaling down. Nice little movements. Really lock in the inner thighs, activate those muscles, really cinch up the pelvis. This will be good for any women, postpartum, prenatal, menopausal, all of us. So go up nice and slow, men included. Exhale, slowly come down. One more, up and back. And I see a lot of sinking in the hips. We always stand sort of like this. We sink into our hips. So I want you to avoid doing that and really work and light up the hip muscles when you're doing single leg balance. And that's what this is going to be about today. So what I want you to do is sort of a bar exercise. Make an X or diagonally place your right foot forward, left foot back, so that the left toe is touching the right heel. So keeping it here, square out your pelvis toward the front and come up slightly on your toes, right? And then bend your knees like sort of in a plie and go all the way up. And as you do so, I want you to squeeze your inner thighs. It's really harder than it looks. And down and up, squeeze. Careful if your rib cages are flaring out toward the front, really lock them down and in, lengthening through your core and feeling like you're getting taller and taller and really feeling the adjustments being made in your hip pelvic complex along with the core. This is so important, staying nice and tall, shoulders drawn back like a ballerina, right? It's sort of bar inspired. And exhale, squeeze, and down slow. And yes, your thighs burn. And it's when you take it really slow that you start to create proper muscle memory. We never want to feel that burn, so we are so quick to go through the motions and get to the final expression, right? But that's not what we're all about. We want to retain the health of our muscles. So exact opposite. This time your left foot is forward. They're rotated out at the hip, and then externally rotated on the back foot as well, so that my right toes are now touching the left heel. Again, it's going to feel awkward, like I feel so awkward in this position because of the torsional torque that I have constantly in my hips, specifically on my left side. So you'll feel that as well, and that's fine. Staying nice and tall, chin forward, shoulders back. Place your hands on your hips, making sure if you have a mirror, this is even better. Keep the pelvis square. Come high up on your toes, and then bend your knees and squeeze those inner thighs, and down and up, squeeze. You're building your balance, strength, as well as stability in your core, as well as your hip complex, as well as you're really working on your posture. And I would also add that you're probably also helping to really mobilize or stabilize your pelvic complex, right? This is what I do manually for my patients, but I'm learning to do that. And this side is so much weaker for me. I'm shaking like crazy. And down, and up, and down. So what I wanted to say is I've been working on this a long time, but it's okay to feel like you need to stand next to a wall. I'd much rather you do it correctly and really feel the burn in your thighs, as opposed to try to do this and then you're like all over the place, right? It's all about the posture. So here we're gonna actually do a plie. Bring the heels together, toes apart, hands on your hips, come high up on your toes. Try to keep your heels together the whole time. That inner lock through the inner thighs really roots us, really allows to really connect with the bandhas, right? Uddiyana bandha, right? So I really want you to pull the navel to the spine, keep it there. I'm just sweating, just keeping it there. In this position, feel free to have your arms out to the side and bend and squeeze those inner thighs. And down and up, squeeze, and down and up, squeeze. And make sure you're not forgetting about the pelvic floor. Maybe even dare to do a Kegel. And really squeeze, and down, and squeeze, and lower those heels, and shake those legs out. Whoa, they're burning a lot. So one last thing, I don't know if I'm gonna fall, but that's okay. If you fall, try it again. I call this the diver's pose. Raise your arms up overhead, come high up on your toes, as high as you can. And you're going to focus on one point anywhere on the floor. I'm going to focus on the floor. I'm going to come down, flexing from the hips and take my arm back. Really keep my focus forward and come all the way up, keeping the heels up the whole time, right? My legs are shaking. Core is completely active. And I'm squeezing my inner thighs. And then I'm going to lower my heels. Arms down by your side. So let's stretch out those legs. That was well done, guys. So I'm just going to, if you can't, bend down all the way, bend into your hips and knees, raise your heels, and come up. We're gonna warm up before we really stretch. Down and up, and down and up. So many of you probably can't go down all the way. And to me, that's not okay. So work on having enough flexibility to allow you to gently go down and be able to come to the floor without having to bend down and try to get down on the floor. And I'm not saying it's going to be possible for you today or tomorrow. A lot of us sit in the Western culture. We don't get down on the floor very much unless you're in a yoga class on a regular basis. But it's one that I want you to work on because as you get older, we're going to continue to lose mobility, right? Aging process is hard. We're only declining. And the more you can do and be smart about what you do, the more you can decelerate the aging process. This is what that's all about, right? So I'm going to leave the left heel into my groin, and then I'm going to turn and twist over to the left, and then I'm going to reach down towards my right ankle and lift my left arm up and stretch up and away, opening up into my left torso. Take a deep breath in and exhale. And then I'm going to switch legs. Sit up nice and tall, twist over to the right side, reach my left hand towards my left ankle, lift my right arm up overhead, reach up, take a deep breath in to my right lung space, and come back. So let me just demonstrate. That's a proper way to stretch, right? I'm getting the pull. But oftentimes what happens is at the expense of everything else, we go all the way. And this is commonly what I see in a yoga class. That doesn't really feel good for the way my QL is kind of positioned, and I'm creating all kinds of issues there. So really pull back a little bit and be honest and know how your structures or your joints are meant to move. You and I are very different in our body types. I'm flexy, but I'm very unstable. So I've had to really work on isometric contractions, meaning there's no length change, but understanding these tiny little screws needed to be tightened over time. I have those issues because I have hypermobility. I like to hang on my bones. So I didn't see muscles developing for a long time. So these are some things that we can do because in the name of doing the hard thing and going all the way, we often forget the good stuff, the process by which we get there, right? So pull back and get to the basics. So I'm going to face this way so you guys can see sort of what I'm doing. I want you to sit with your knees bent and then see if you can pull forward to where you can grab your feet. But avoid straightening your knees if you have to round down like this, right? I always want you to pull forward, right? It's really not about just the hamstrings. It's about the lumbar or low back complex. There's a deep bandy fascia or tissue that connects it to our pelvis in such a way to restrict our hamstrings. So being responsible and knowing that is key. So bring your belly to your thigh and keep that in contact. And as long as you can sit up tall, keeping your chest forward, slowly start to nudge your heels down and away from you to where you can feel open. That's about my limit, but I'm gonna kind of work on going deeper. And take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Some of you might be here, which is a good position to be. I don't want you rounding, right? It's not what our low back is supposed to do. You can really do some damage there or repetitive injury over time, especially if you have history of low back pain. So pull up and out, even if you have to bend your knee slightly, and pull forward and gently work on, through your breath, lengthening out those legs. We're just going to pulsate back and forth. I'm going to reach forward and back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And take a deep breath in and exhale. Come back. Cross your right ankle on the outside of the left knee, sitting up nice and tall. I'm going to place my right hand right behind me, reach my left arm up and over, and pull. Place my left elbow on the outside of the right knee and twist. Just being responsible, keeping my right hip forward, my pelvis is squared toward the front, not leaning back and going back like this. I want you guys to understand that straight up posture, that spine is perpendicular to the sit bone or your pelvic bowl is really important. And come back and place the right foot back. Left ankle on the outside of the right knee, sitting up nice and tall. Place your left hand right behind you. Lift your right arm up, hook the right elbow on the outside of the left knee, and twist back. Take a deep breath in and exhale, squeezing your belly to go a little bit further and back, never forcing. And then bring your foot back, and I'm going to face you this time. I'm going to place the soles of my feet together. And if you feel like in this position you're rounded like this, please feel free to place a block, a yoga block, or a nice thick blanket, or a pillow underneath your bottom to raise yourself up like this, right? I'm just going to flop my wings, my knees up and down, just to kind of stretch into my hips, up and down, and sitting up nice and tall, chin forward. I'm going to slowly pull forward to where I can open into my hips, taking a deep breath in and exhaling. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. So that's it, guys. It's simple. Exercise shouldn't be always about no pain, no gain. The older we get, especially with those of us who live with an autoimmune condition, it's so important for us to preserve and strengthen and stabilize and improve posture at all times. So I hope that's helpful. I'll see you guys next week.